Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Steph from the Hot Moving Podcast, and Stephen A. Smith once again is in the spotlight for the wrong reasons, and of course, it's a beef with a former pro athlete, none other than Terrell Owens. So, how did this get started? Now, I believe this got started because of Stephen A. Smith made an appearance on Joe Budden's podcast, and Joe Budden asked about relationships and how the fallout with him and Max Kellerman, who used to be a co-host on First Take, how all that went down. And of course, Stephen A. Smith just was like, look, I didn't like working with Max Kellerman, nothing against him personally. I just didn't like it for our business. And, we're trying to go number one, yada, yada, yada. Therefore, Max has to exit stage left. And of course, clips of T.O. questioning Stephen A. Smith's blackness started circulating around Twitter and the internet, going viral once again. I'll play the clip and I'll get back to you guys.
Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with what he's coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother.
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute. Wait to finish.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna check you right now. You don't cross the line.
I'm just saying.
Time. Wait a minute. You don't cross the line.
So, T.O. tweeted out that video clip stating facts. And of course, this prompted Stephen A. Smith to go off, right? So, his first tweet is, now for this dude, that's an entirely different story. You know how I feel about your sorry ass Terrell Owens, and you know why. You should thank your heavenly father. I haven't zeroed in on you with the trifling bleep you tried to pull. Tell folks at ESPN what your desperate ass tried to pull. Keep on talking. Eventually, you'll expose yourself. Then Stephen A. follows it up again with, or maybe I'll just dedicate the entire Stephen A. Smith Show podcast on YouTube this Monday to all the things you tried to do behind the scenes to brothers over the years while claiming someone is more of a brother than others. Let me think about that over the next 24 hours. And then T.O. decides to respond with a long post for himself. And he says, now, Stephen A. asked me if I'm scared. I thank God every day, or at least I try to do what you do best. I'm not worried. You don't have to make some bold attempt to expose me because I have nothing to hide. You're mad because of the advice of my attorney after we filed against ESPN because on air without my consent you shared our text conversation. I'm not sure that constitutes as desperate, but enlighten us all. So my boy, hone in on me. I'm good, I'm blessed, and God got me. You're still salty about that interview I did with you and Max a few years back, and I said what I said, and today I'm still with Team Max and got that man fired. That's messed up. You saw me in Colorado. You should have told me about my sorry ass then. So there you go with the clapback from Terrell Owens. I mean, look, man. If all T.O. did was reshare the viral clip, cool. Stephen A., man, you're in a good lane. You're making over $10 million a year at ESPN, man. Let it go. It's never a good light or a good. You're never put in positive light when you are always arguing with black athletes, man. You know what I'm saying? And I know it stings a little bit, but listen, at that time, T.O. made that statement about Max Kellerman being blacker than you. A lot of people, I would say, agree with that. A solid majority agree with that. And what I mean is that, Stephen A. Smith is self-admitted a company guy. You know what I'm saying? He comes across as, well, he is a capitalist, all about the bottom line. Yes, man, to the company. When it comes to certain social issues at that time, Stephen A., it seemed like Max Kellerman definitely understood the more pro-black side than opposed to the Stephen A. Smith side. And it's not to knock Stephen A. Smith's stance, but I can understand why people in the black community can see that you aren't necessarily on their side, even though you have a difference of opinion. Not knocking Stephen A. Smith for his opinion, but I can understand that sentiment, right? But he didn't like being stood up on his own show by another black man saying that how a white man in Max Kellerman is blacker than you, via the aforementioned things I mentioned. But, Stephen A. Smith, man, he is always in these internet wars, internet beefs nonstop, man. Every time he makes an appearance on a podcast, I know he's just being asked questions about a situation, and Stephen A. Smith is going to keep it real, but there's always going to be a blowback. And Stephen A. Smith feels he always has the truth. His truth is above everybody else's, and Matter of fact, I'm going to expose you. We know all about the back and forth between Skip and Stephen A. Smith about how, the show was put on hiatus, and there was some discrepancies in Stephen A. Smith's story about the whole Tebow thing was the reason why, compared to, no, it was the Skip side, it was actually the whole Rob Parker with, calling RG3 a cornball brother and all this other stuff that had went down. Stephen A. Smith is just always at odds with his contemporaries and pro athletes, man. At this point, for Stephen A. Smith, I mean, look, you answered to Max Kellerman. I don't mind you talking about it again on the Joe Budden podcast, but you don't got to respond to T.O. If T.O. wants to replay a clip of the interview he did on First Take years back of Max Kellerman saying he's blacker than you, then so be it. But it just makes Stephen A. Smith look bad, look petty. Now he wants to, I'm sure he's going to address it on Monday. Now he's talking about dedicating an entire show about T.O. And it's like, look, once again, black on black crime, right? We got two brothers at it. I don't really see the issue with T.O. There's more so Stephen A. Smith with the venom that he has to bring up. He has to put on it, about Terrell Owens. Just not necessary. This is the stuff like this is why Stephen A. Smith will probably flex out of ESPN. If they really care about the bottom line, they'll keep him. But if they really don't care for all these other shenanigans, and who knows how Stephen A. Smith is going to go off. Again, I know that his YouTube podcast is a separate entity. However, it's not like the ESPN bosses and execs are not watching, right? Even every now and then, Stephen A. Smith, I've noticed, had to tone it down a little bit on his YouTube channel, right? So, I mean, look, you are a representative of ESPN. Doesn't matter what you do on the side. You're still an employee of ESPN, and everything you do outside of ESPN can reflect back on them negatively, right? So, Stephen A. Smith don't seem like he wants to tread this one lightly. I mean, you're in a position of strength. You're on TV. You have a bigger platform than T.O. You're making lots of money. Let it go. But he doesn't. He wants to engage in his beef and go back and forth and want to dedicate a podcast and fuel the fire and fan the flames to all this stuff, man. Absolutely wild, unnecessary with Stephen A. Smith. But it's at this point, it's typical because Stephen A. Smith knows the truth. He knows more of a situation, or he has some inside dirt that he hasn't released yet that he's going to try to expose to Terrell Owens. So here we go again. Buckle up for Monday with what Stephen A. Smith got to say about this now. Anyways, guys, leave me your thoughts or opinions about all this nonsense with Stephen A. Smith and Terrell Owens. Thanks for listening. Do me a huge favor. Please like, subscribe. I'm out.